All right. How many of you have been to a seminar before? Okay. Let me ask you, when you've gone to those seminars, do they jump right into the stuff
Yeah.
right off the bat?
No, they make jokes. It depends
They make jokes, okay? It depends. What does it depend on?
on what they're lecturing on, the audience, it's like, I don't know. But yeah, I think they do kind of try and break the ice first.
They never talk about the investment till the end.
And never talk about the investment until the end. That's good. All right. Well, every seminar that I've been to, they never jump into the material for about, the first hour of it or whatever it might be. Because and what I've learned in doing that, or watching this come about, is that I found that they really kind of get you ready to learn. They want to get your mind in that mode of learning. So what I like to do at the beginning of all my classes is kind of do that for you. Get you in the mindset of learning some of the things that I've personally learned over the years that has helped me. And so in the process, I hope it will help you. Now, let's see, what else here? How many of you know what a life skill is? You heard that term before?
Hunting and gathering.
Hunting and gathering. Yeah, well, back in the ancient days, yeah, that would be considered hunting and gathering. But what is a life skill, do you think?
Communication, maybe?
Okay, why is communication a life skill?
Because it's something you have to learn how to do to live.
Okay, it would be kind of boring if everybody just walked around,
Yeah.
right? And didn't say anything to each other. And so, yeah, the life communication is life skills, one of the most obvious
Language
ones.
is kind of what sets us apart from a lot of the other animals, on
Okay.
Earth, is our ability to communicate. So technically, we're communication.
Okay, all right. Any other life skills you can think of? What are the three basic things that teach you in school? The three are
Reading, writing, and arithmetic.
reading, writing, and arithmetic, and communication.
So our ability to learn, in other words.
Yeah, really. It is our ability to learn. All these things are life skills that help us to become better people, to become more knowledgeable. And so, so what do? We take classes. You guys are taking this class in order to learn public speaking, correct? And you may have other classes on different subjects that you're learning. But each of them have a specific thing that you do. This class is about improving your public speaking skills. And so, some other ways that we learn, what else do we do? Any thoughts?
We learn by street smarts, not just in classrooms.
Okay.
It's like trial and error, things that we learn from our mistakes, things we do through life, just part of
Experience.
the process, yeah.
Okay. Reading, maybe reading books. That might be a good way of doing it, right? That's how I learned. I was watching the news this weekend, and they had that young teenage boy that had built this app, game app
Oh, for the iPhone?
for the iPhone, and it's the top free app.
Lives in like Sandy, Utah or something.
Yeah. And interesting enough, as I was listening to the news, they asked him, how did you learn how to do this? And he says, by going to the library, reading books, picking up tutorials on the internet. And so what does that tell us what we need to do you think?
Research.
Okay? We need to read, we need to
Says
research.
you can learn anything that you want to learn by going to the library or looking on the internet.
Okay?
We have a drive to learn whatever we're researching, we're gonna figure out a way to learn it.
Yeah, we do. That, as human beings, we have that innate drive to want to learn something. If you were to go into my home, you would find shelves and shelves and shelves of books. At last count, I counted them over the summer. I think I have over 3,000 books.
Wow.
You read them all?
Uh-huh. I've read every one of them.
Do you have like one of those big ladders and that you see that goes back?
No,
and
haven't
forth?
haven't got that far yet.
Not there yet?
But my wife is planning on buying it when we buy a home.
Building one.
We're gonna build a
That's
library
cool.
in it so we have a place for the books.
That's sweet.
Very cool.
But, you know, that's how I learned, and interesting enough, when I went to, when I first was pursuing an education, I was gonna be an architect, that didn't work out. Then I decided, okay, I'm gonna join the military, so I joined the military. An interesting thing happened while I was in the military. I found out about these boxes called computers. Now, when I graduated from high school, these things did not exist. And so, for me, it was like, wow, what is this thing? And so I started to go to the learning center, which the military had, and there's this guy sitting there just tapping away on this keyboard, and I'm going, what are you doing? And he'd show me. And eventually, I started picking up on it, and eventually, I learned about computers. I started building computers up until just recently, I built every one of my computers because that was something I learned in the military. 17 years later, I'm asked to become a college professor teaching computers. My degree is in business, but I had 17 years of computer experience. So I went into this class and started teaching computers, eventually ran the computer department at that school. And then steadily I moved on to communications, because that's kind of where my degree was centered in, so that's what I wanted to do. And so I kind of went away from that. I still dabble in it a little bit myself right at this point, but what I'm trying to get at here is really about learning, isn't it? It's getting in that mindset that we need to continually be learning. Now, learning, it's a process. There's two reasons, and one of the things that I want you to understand, there's two reasons that we do something. The first one is our education, to be educated, right? We go to college to be educated. We go to a seminar to be educated. There's another thing that goes along with this, and it's motivation. Now, as you look at those two things, education and motivation, why do you think those two things are important? Any thoughts?
It's how we learn, it's how we progress in life. We have to have the motivation to get the education.
Okay.
Yes.
Well, let's break it down. Education, we are learning something, we gain knowledge, right?
Right.
But one of the things, if we aren't motivated to use that education, what happens?
You lose it.
You start to lose that knowledge because you're not using it. Then on the other hand, you can be motivated as all get out, but if you don't have the education to back it up, it can be a problem, right? So we really have to have a balance between the two. My actual definition of motivation is irritation. And why would I define it as irritation?
Sometimes it's hard to get motivated.
Okay, sometimes it's hard to get motivated, and what really motivates us in the end is we're so irritated with
So we
where
can't
we're
do
at,
something.
You just want to
that we can't do something, that we
change it.
change it, right? And sometimes some of us are very hard-headed and we just kind of keep in that same spot all the time. So again, a balance between the two is very important. Interesting enough, in the last century, we have grown in knowledge by leaps and bounds. I read a statistic one time where it said that in the 1600s, all the known knowledge in the world could fit in a daily New York Times newspaper. That blew my mind. I went, whoa. So now when you look at where we've gone, we've gone from building airplanes, flying in airplanes, to going to outer space, to the moon, all of these things. And so our knowledge, and it steadily increases. Think about, most of you probably grew up, probably were born with cell phones, but cell phones, I remember putting a dime in the little box on
Big
the,
one,
on
on the
the
corner.
street, on the corner. And it went to a quarter after a while, but put a dime in, and that's how you made your call. And now we have them in our pockets. Some other things that you need to understand. Jobs, they're gonna change. You think this is probably the last time you're gonna be in school? Some of you may. Others, you may come back to school to learn something new. Interesting enough, what the current statistics are saying, that we'll change jobs or careers 7 times in our lifetime. I remember my dad working for the post office for 30 years and retiring. That's not gonna happen anymore. So doesn't that tell us that we really need to be in that continual learning mindset, doesn't it? Okay. What else? Do you need a degree to get a job?
No.
Okay, that's kind of an odd question for me to be asking, right? But you don't need a degree to get a job. There are people out there that learn a trade. They go out and learn construction. And that's what they do most of their lives. And do they need a degree for that? Generally not. But, again, I want you to kind of just understand we need to be in this mindset of continually learning. Couple of things that I came across that I think will help you kind of, if you memorize a couple of quotes, if you memorize these, I think it'll always help you to kind of stay in this mindset. Eric Hoffer is a writer, and he made this statement. He said, in times of drastic change, it is the learners who inherit the future. The learned usually find themselves equipped to live in a world that no longer exists. Now, as you have read that and see that, what comes to your mind what is he trying to say here?
That when somebody fails, those people that bounce back and don't, don't feel like they failed, they look at it as an opportunity to, seek out a new career or, whatever. Those are the ones that do well in the future, the ones that sit back and say, oh, lost my job.
Yeah.
Are the ones that will fail the rest of their lives.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Yeah.
I think especially now, the things around us are always constantly changing. Especially today with the economy, with people, like one day you go to work and then the next day, maybe you're doing your very best, then all of a sudden you lose your job. If you're not in that mindset, then you're not going to be able to continue to exist. So then you have to learn so we can adapt to the surroundings.
Exactly. I know people that are really, really, really smart, but they really don't progress anywhere because a lot of the knowledge is based on things in the past.
Like cell phones, for example. I mean, you have 3-year-olds texting, and then my mom will never know how to text in her life, but if she learned, she would have a better way to communicate with her children and her grandchildren. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Just adapting to new things.
Yeah, you have to be in that adapting mode, yes.
The way I see it is like, the world changes kind of like, I'm gonna liken it to computers, like computers. When you were in the military, I bet you there wasn't as many different computer options and stuff back then. And like with you running the school computer program, you learned when the computers changed and stuff. Where if you didn't, I'm pretty sure you wouldn't be the head of computers for very long.
Yeah.
So you need to continually learn throughout your life to adapt to what life throws at you.
Exactly, you really do, and so you really need to be in that mindset of continually learning, and that's really what he's saying here, because you want to be able to grow, progress. Another one, and then this is my favorite quote from him, and it says, to learn you need to have a certain degree of confidence, not too much, not too little. If you have too little confidence, you will think you can't learn, and you have to. And if you have too much confidence, you will think you don't have to learn. Is that true?
So true, yeah.
So next time, those of you who have kids, next time your kids give you garbage, why do I have to do this? Just quote them this. Maybe that'll help. But it's really true. If you don't have a confidence in yourself and your abilities, you'll think you can't learn. And then if you have too much, then boy, oh, you can't teach me anything. I've been in classes where students have actually said that to me. I didn't learn a thing in this class.
Just like the teenage kids, Mom, you don't know what I'm going through right now. I can never understand.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yep. So this is one of my favorite quotes, and so keep these in mind as you, and I've given you copies of those in the handout so that you don't have to write this down. Another thing that was very helpful, this is a gentleman I used to work with. He's my friend now because he's no longer my boss. His name is Barry Wilson, and he was the dean of a college that I worked at some years ago, and in one of our trainings, he talked about what it takes to learn. And he came up with this acronym called PAIR. And what PAIR stands for is, first, the P stands for participate. So as a student, what do you need to do as a student to participate?
Actively listen.
Actively listen, okay. What else? Are there other things you can do?
Give opinions, comments.
Okay. Having interaction in class is part of that. Reading your text. Getting the information that you want out of this class by doing some preparation ahead of time. But also, on my part, I have to participate, don't I? I can't teach you anything if I'm standing up here just looking at y'all, right? And so I have to participate as well in this process. A lot of people call it mentoring. The E stands for energy and enthusiasm. Now, you as a student, do you have to have energy? Do you have to have enthusiasm about the subject to get something from it?
Yes.
You'll learn better. You'll retain it.
Yeah, you'll learn better if it's something you have a passion for. I always have counseled my students to get into something that you love. Because you can always make money doing something that you love. But what else it does is it provides that energy and enthusiasm for you to be able to go on. On my part, I have to have energy and enthusiasm, don't I? If I'm not excited about the subject, I probably ought not to be teaching it, right? And so that's why I love public speaking. It's just one of my passions. It's something that I learned and developed over the years. I told you in our first class that I was one of those students who was shy, sat back in the corner of the class. And over time, I realized for me to grow and progress, I needed to learn this public speaking stuff. And so as I did that, I got the energy for it and the enthusiasm for it. And so that's why I teach it, and that's why I love teaching it. His next thing was to be attentive, to pay attention. You guys as students need to pay attention. If you're just sitting here and you're texting or you're on the internet in class, you're not going to get the information that I think is important. But at the same time, as we go through this process, I need to be attentive to you. I need to look at your body language. I need to look at your tone. I need to answer those questions. I need to be attentive to you as a teacher, or else this is not going to work, is it? The last thing he said was, which is the R, it stands for respect and respond. Now, in a classroom situation, you think respect is important?
Absolutely.
It is, isn't it? Now, when we throw respond in there, if you guys, if you asked a question and I said, well, that's the dumbest question I've ever heard, are you ever going to respond
No.
to me? Was I being respectful? No. So it's a two-way street. You guys need to be respectful and respond as well in this process. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
Does this help?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's move on to the next one. Paper's gonna start, sorry about that. Public speaking is a life skill. I think I've made that point pretty clear, right? It's something that whether you do it in front of an audience or you're training somebody on the job training, there are many opportunities to use what we learn in public speaking in order for us to become better. Interesting enough, I read a book some time back called Life is a Series of Presentations. And the more I dwelt on that, I realized that it's true. Life is a series of presentations. You go to a job interview, it's a presentation. You go to ask someone out on a date, isn't that a presentation? So it's not just getting up in front of an audience. All of these skills that we learn, you'll use. So life skills, what they do is they allow you to take the knowledge you get and use it and put it into action. Now, you guys may know this person, you may not. His name's Charles Osgood. If you get up early on Sunday mornings, he has a TV show called CBS Sunday Mornings where he just does really good stories, you know, about people and good experiences. And he said this about public speaking. He said, never act as if giving your speech were a chore. Act as if you regarded this as a great opportunity to say something that needs saying, or that you have wanted to tell somebody for a long time. I think the key part right here is chore. If you looked at public speaking as a chore, are you going to really do it? How many of you grew up and your parents asked you to do something and you didn't want to do it? It was a chore.
All of us.
All of you, even though you're not raising your hand. I know I did. And when I look at something as a chore, I really don't get motivated about it. And so,
Hurry up and get it over with.
yes, let's get it over with. And so if you approach public speaking in that way, you're going to have some problems getting past some things. And so, again, we're going to go through this class, and I'm going to help you with those things.
I like how he says act, because it kind of is acting in a way, you know? You can
Mhm.
go up there and be a totally different person than we really are, and if you look at it kind of as action, you can be a lot better in your presentation, I think.
Exactly, if you want to be actors, learn how
Well,
to speak.
I
in
think
public,
then you,
yeah.
if you look at it as acting, then you can present any subject. It doesn't have to necessarily be something that you love. But if your public speaking teacher asks you to speak on something foreign, just get up there and act.
Yeah, exactly, and so, acting, I'm glad you brought that up, because it really is. And when I teach you about fear, you know, act as if you're not afraid, and eventually you won't be afraid. Act as if, is the term I've heard in the past. Now, let's talk a little bit about comfort zones. Now, anybody heard the term comfort zone before?
Yes.
In your mind, when you hear the term comfort zone, what do you envision?
When you're free from anxiety, a place where you're free from anxiety is something you're used to.
Okay.
It doesn't challenge you or stress you.
It doesn't challenge you or stress you. It's interesting you use anxiety, because some of us are very comfortable being stressed out, don't we? That is our comfort zone. That's the easy place. It's the mental place you feel at peace, and it's interesting about that. You know, when you're under a lot of stress, if that's how you've been for a long time, that is comfortable to you.
And you don't know how to respond any other way.
And you don't respond any other way, exactly. It stops us from growing and progressing. And what happens is we go along and we hit this wall. And, oh man, get through that. No. And then you go back to where you were. And so you keep fighting. You have this ongoing fight with yourself, because it's not a comfortable place to be in. You think about people who, let's equate it to money. You think about people who win the lottery that never had 2 nickels to put together in their lives. The statistics show that most people hate it, and they go out and they give it away or spend it or whatever they do to get back to that comfortable place. That always blew my mind. I'm going, why? You know, it'd be great to have all that money. But then I started thinking about it as I got into business and studied business. I realized that there's a lot of responsibility that goes with that, those millions and millions of dollars. And if you're not ready for it, you can get all the money in the world and then not have it, because you go back to this comfortable place. And so what we have to do is we have to break through that that comfort zone. And my favorite quote for this is that if you're going through hell, keep going, so you can get to the other side. Okay? Let's talk more about being educated. When we're educated, we become more employable, don't we? That's what you guys are here for. You're getting an education so you can become more employable. So what it comes down to is I need to be ready to teach you, right? And you need to be ready to learn. And so that's what today's about. This is what our lesson here is about. John Ruskin, I love quotes, because they really, in a few words, tell what I'm trying to say. And what he said here, education is not teaching people what they do not know. It's teaching them how to behave. Is it teaching them to behave as they do not behave? That makes sense?
Absolutely.
It's not about learning something, it's about changing what you do. That's what this class is about. It's changing. Some of you may have some anxiety and fear about getting up in front of an audience. So what I'm hoping to do in this class is to teach you to behave differently as you present and become better public speakers. Are you gonna be perfect the first time? No. But as you keep doing it, are you gonna get better at it?
Hopefully.
Yeah, I guarantee you that you will, okay? It takes persistence. That is really the key here. Persistence is a very important part of this. This is what keeps pushing you through those hard times. We can become good public speakers if we don't quit. Too many people quit when they get to that point of anxiety and when you're not sure of yourself. And so one of the first things we're going to tackle after we do a little bit of history about public speaking, we're going to talk about fear right up front. And help you, I'm going to give you some tools to help you learn this and deal with it and learn to deal with the fear in a more positive way. Is that a good thing for you?
Yeah.
Right? I hope that's what you want. We need to stick with the concepts that I'm going to teach you. I have set this course up in such a way to help you build from one thing to the next thing to the next thing, okay? That's how I built this course because that's how I learned it. And it's been pretty successful for me. And so that's how I'm going to teach you to do this. So, in conclusion, just a couple things here. We're going to talk about the foundations of public speaking and give you give you some knowledge. We're going to give you some experience in this class. What ultimately happens is you not only can increase your physical income, which is the dollars that you might earn, but there's also a psychic income. When I talk about psychic income, what is the psychic income, do you think?
When you mentally know that you can do better, or know that you deserve better, know that you're worth more. It makes you stand up to your employers more when you know that you're not getting paid enough or you're not being treated right. And, just a
Okay.
mental aspect.
It is a mental thing, isn't it? That's what it really comes down to. You know, it's like, I'm a teacher, and you know that teachers don't make a whole bunch of money, okay? But when I sit and listen to you guys give speeches after I've shown you what to do, and I see you excel, and I see you grow from it, and see that difference from the first time you give a speech to the last time, you guys, that's psychic income for me, because I feel like I've had a part of that. And so that I'm going to get some psychic income from this class, and hopefully you will too, in learning and becoming a better person and a better communicator. The concepts that are in this course have been around for a long time. We're going to learn that in our next class. We're going to learn where the foundations of public speaking came from. Aristotle, in the ancient Greek times. This is where it really kind of started. And so we're going to learn some of these tried and tested things that Aristotle brought to our minds. Now, is this going to be all you need to learn about public speaking in this class? Probably not. Again, the whole essence of this course is about learning and growing and progressing. You know, through this semester, we might just hit the tip of the iceberg for you. But as you continue on learning this stuff and practicing it and using it, you're going to become better public speakers. And so then you can fill in the rest of the iceberg there instead of just the tip of it. Ralph Waldo Emerson said this. He said, do the thing and get the energy to do the thing. I guarantee that will happen as you do these speeches in this class, you're going to get more excited and get more energy as we do this. All right, so your assignment, there's a journal assignment.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Might be for the next page. There you go.
Okay. There are two different assignments. One's just kind of for your own knowledge and to give you an ongoing, how to say this, an ongoing library of things to use. I want you to get you a journal. I mean, well, it's cheap, 25-cent. What do they call them? Composition journals.
Yeah.
I have several of those that, as I read or I listen to someone speak, I just start writing notes. Maybe some stories that I've heard, quotes that I've heard. One of the things that, I would like you to do, you're not going to turn this into me, but what I would like you to do is keep an ongoing journal of quotes and things like that, just for you to use as reference material as you continue on and give speeches, okay? But for the class, there is a journal assignment, and there's two questions I want you to answer. First one is, why do you think public speaking is important? I want you to write a short paragraph on why you think public speaking is important. And then the next question I want you to write a short paragraph on is, how will the ability to speak in public help you in your current and future employment? I want you to be able to ingrain what we're talking about today in these assignments, and you turn these in next class, on Thursday.
What was the
Okay.
second question again?
Do you have these?
Like,
Okay.
you're just curious. But,
How will the ability to speak in public help you in your current and future employment?
yeah. Thanks.
So those are your assignments. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I was gonna ask if we were turning that into the answer.
Okay, all right. Yes,
Is it one paragraph for each?
one paragraph for each question. Okay? All right, that'll be it for today. And those of you who